I don't like giving books bad reviews, but that one needed it. Hi everyone, my name is Leanna. Welcome to my new channel. If this is your first time seeing me and you don't know me at all, I do have another channel where I just post like lifestyle vlogs, but I have started reading a ton recently and I just want to talk about books all the time. So I figured the perfect place to come and talk about books would be on my own designated channel. I've always been pretty into reading, but I used to read more nonfiction, like self-help books, and those are good and give you a lot of knowledge, but I would never really get into them like I've been getting into fiction novels recently. You know, when a book just sucks you in completely and you read it in like a day. That happened to me with quite a few of these books, and that really just sparked the love of reading inside of me. So I'm going to share with you guys everything that I read in the month of May. Oh, also I have a Goodreads account if you want to add me or follow me. I don't really know how it works, but I've been putting all of my books on there and my ratings and everything, and I kind of want friends on there. So I don't have any. So follow me or add me, or I don't know, it's linked below. First thing that I read, I actually got at a thrift store for $1.99, and it's Gone Girl. I just figured everybody has read Gone Girl except for me, so this was a good place to start. I would rate this probably 4 out of 5 stars. It's really good at just captivating your attention and keeping you interested the entire book. Basically, her husband comes home from work one day and the house is trashed and she's missing, so you're following the story of trying to figure out what happened to her. The next book that I read is In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley. I was actually seeing this book all over Instagram. It says it's a Good Morning America book club book, so maybe that's why I was seeing it everywhere. But it's actually really good. I think I would rate this one 4 stars as well. So in this book, you're following the main character, Dani. One day she wakes up and she's 5 years into the future, and her life is completely different. She's with a different guy, she's in a different apartment, she has a different job. Everything about her life is just different, and you have to follow and see if that was really 5 years into the future or how she gets to that point. And it's just super interesting and it takes you on a wild little ride. I've heard everyone on BookTube talk about this book, so I had to get it as well, and that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I really loved this book because of Sally Rooney's writing style, and I would rate this 5 stars. I read this whole book in one sitting, and you're following Connell and Marianne just through their relationship with each other and breaking up and finding each other and fights and issues that they go through. It's almost kind of plotless, I feel. I don't know if that's a way to describe this book. It starts when they're in high school and ends, I think, after college. So you're just following them for years, and it's so good. Next book that I read is Something to Live For by Richard Roeper. This book I had never heard of. I just saw it in the bookstore and it looked really interesting. So you're following Andrew, and he is a recluse, I would say. All he does is go to work and home, and he's in his 40s. He's just really closed off to meeting new people and becoming friends and doing anything out of his ordinary routine. So you're following his story to see how he can change that and why he ended up like that in the first place. I would rate this 3.5 stars. The writing was okay. It wasn't my favorite ever, but it was good, and the plot was pretty good as well. I just had to read They Both Die in the End by Adam Silvera. And if somehow you're on BookTube and you have not read this book yet, there is a system called Deathcast, and it calls everyone at midnight on the day that they're going to die. And the 2 main characters in this book, Mateo and Rufus, both get the call at midnight, and they're 17 and 18 years old, and they end up finding each other and finding out that they both got the Deathcast call and that it's their last day on Earth. So they're just spending it together, trying to enjoy their last moments. It just keeps you really hooked on this book because you're like, are they really actually gonna die? Did he really spoil this for me, or was it a mistake? So this is a YA, and it's not that I don't like YAs, but I feel like this one just wasn't as amazing as I was hoping it would be. I think maybe it's just overhyped because everyone has read this and raved about it. I really love the idea of this book, like you get your call at midnight on the day you're gonna die, but I think it just could have been done better. I feel mean, but I would rate this 3 stars. The next book that I read is If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. This book follows 4 women in South Korea. They all live in the same apartment building, and you follow them through their journeys and how they help each other. It gave me very much Sex and the City vibes because it's just like 4 girls enjoying their lives, going through their ups and downs. I would rate this 4 stars. The next book that I read is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I saw this book on TikTok and BookTube, and I heard that it was so amazing, and I hated this book. I'm sorry, I don't like that word. I really did not like this book at all. It was the cringiest thing I've ever read. It's basically a hate to love trope, and they go from being arch enemies to falling in love. So on the back it says Lucy Hutton and Josh Templeman hate each other. Not dislike, hate. They have no problems displaying their feelings through a series of ritualistic passive-aggressive maneuvers as they sit across from each other. So they share an office at work, and all they do all day is like have staring contests about how much they hate each other. It just seemed to me in this book they never hated each other. They were just flirting the entire time. And she is like a 30-year-old woman, maybe like in her late 20s, and was acting like a middle schooler that had a crush on someone. I'm annihilating this book right now. I'm so sorry, but I really did not like this. I would rate it 1 star if I had to. I read to about page like 300 and then was just like, I can't do this anymore, and just skimmed the rest briefly. So I technically didn't even really finish this, but it was that bad. I feel so mean. I don't like giving books bad reviews, but that one needed it. Okay, next we have Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Where do I begin with this book? I love Murakami's writing style. This is my first Murakami that I have ever read. It lived up to the hype. It did. His writing is beautiful. This was the first book that I have ever annotated. On the 2nd or 3rd page, I was like, oh, I need to underline that. That was beautiful. So I underlined a lot of things in this book. So in this, you're following Toru and how he forms a bond with Naoko over their friend that, trigger warning, commits suicide. So it was Naoko's boyfriend and Toru's best friend. So then they kind of go through that grief together and bond over that. And then again, this just follows them through years of their ups and downs and going on their own life path. I have heard that this is a good place to start with Murakami because it is his only book, I believe, that is not kind of in a fantasy world. This is just very much real life, kids going to college. So if you're looking to start a Murakami, I would recommend Norwegian Wood. So I would rate this 4.5 out of 5 stars. Just in the way he portrays the women was kind of annoying. So that's why it's not getting a 5 out of 5. Next is another book that I am definitely late to the club on, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing. This is a 5 out of 5. This book I think could not be any better. This book takes place in the 50s and 60s. You really follow her whole life. You are following the main character, Kaya, and right in the beginning she gets abandoned and really just has to make a life for herself. Her family is so poor. Just as a young girl, she was really raising herself. And then there's also a murder in this book where everyone just instantly blames Kaya because she had such a bad reputation growing up her whole life being so poor. This next book I just started yesterday, so I cannot give it an accurate rating yet, but I'm sure so many of you know this as well and have heard of it or read it, and that is The Handmaid's Tale. I actually had to read this book in high school, but I didn't. I would just read the assigned chapters here and there. So now I'm going back to give this a full review because I feel like this is a modern day classic that everyone needs to read, and I'm trying to get more into classics as well because I've always just been intimidated by them, as I'm sure most people have. They're like kind of hard to read and scary, so I think this would be a really good place to start for classics, modern day classics. So that is all that I've read in the month of May. Make sure you're subscribed because this is a new channel, so it would really help me out so much. And you can also subscribe to my main channel if you want to see me ever not talking about books and just living my life. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video.